So you see, to begin to awaken from this, from your own idea about yourself, about the world, about everything else, and you begin not only your own personal ideas and your own personal viewpoints, but then consciousness runs right into your culture's viewpoints, the way your culture views the world, the way its norms, its ideas, its beliefs, you see. And consciousness wakes up out of that sort of fantasy. And the more that your consciousness starts to come out of this dream, the more alone you feel. Unfortunately, most people, when they hear the word alone, they immediately think loneliness. But aloneness has nothing to do with loneliness. Jesus was the most alone man on the planet. Why was he alone? Nobody really knew what he was talking about. Right? His own disciples really had no idea what he was talking about. As soon as times got rough, they split. All 12 of them. The only one that stuck around was a couple of women. I don't know what that says, but if you're going to pick your disciples, make sure you throw in at least half women. Yeah. If times get rough, you might have company. Or the Buddha. Buddha was someone who was also extraordinarily alone. Not lonely at all. Not even the little bit lonely. Probably the least lonely person on the planet. But alone, probably the most alone person on the planet. Very alone. So it's just one of those fears that one steps through. The fear of aloneness. Because what keeps our consciousness in the dream state is that the idea we have about ourselves, the illusory self, it needs company. It needs all of our illusions. Our illusions need company. Whether it's the illusion about yourself, the illusion about the world, the illusion about whatever it is, it needs company to sustain itself. Do you know? That's why you take someone, put them in a room by themselves for a week with no TV, no book, no nothing to do. Most people will go half nuts. They'll want to come running out of that room at the end of the week faster than anybody you've ever seen. Because when illusion is left alone, there's nothing to support it. When there's nothing to support it, it really gets very, very nervous. Really, that's what meditation, done correctly, is a way to enter your aloneness. Not a way to chase your ideas, but actually enter into that state where you're truly alone. That's what stillness is. That's what silence is. It's to be absolutely alone. Nothing supporting you psychologically, intellectually. All that's silent, all that's still. And if you can withstand that purely for even a moment is actually enough. It doesn't take many moments, even a moment of just entering into your absolute aloneness is quite enough. Some people, they may take 30 years of great spiritual practice or discipline or whatever before they finally get to the point or where they realize that they don't know anything, where they can sustain it, where they go, okay, I've done this for so long, I really don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how to get there. I don't know what this is all about. I don't know who I am. I actually don't know what life is anymore. I don't know. I really don't know anything. Maybe it takes someone 30 years to get to that point. Somebody else can walk in the door and they can get to that point like snapping your fingers. Did you realize that you really don't know anything? Well, sure. Then they're very, very available. Whichever way it goes, it doesn't really matter. But truly that's all it takes, is to enter into your aloneness for one moment. That's the paradox. You enter into your aloneness, and what you realize is your absolute intimacy with all things. Odd, isn't it? We wouldn't imagine that if we entered into our absolute aloneness, the last place most human beings want to end up, if you really enter into that fully for one moment, then you realize your absolute intimacy. One of the ways the great Zen master Dogen described enlightenment was intimacy with the 10,000 things. 10,000 things means everything, right? Because that's what oneness is. People think like oneness is this idea. Oneness isn't experiencing an absolute intimacy with existence, with life. It's a very, very deep, intimate thing to experience that what's over there isn't separate from what's here. It's not just an idea of non-separation or oneness, it's actually an experience of deep affinity. It's to even to see the person next to you and experience this deep, deep, deep affinity, an intimacy that's so deep that you actually know that essentially you are identical. Relatively different, essentially same. And the deep intimacy of that absolute connectiveness, that's oneness. And that is to be found right in the experience of absolute aloneness.